So I wasn't planning on talking about this. Honestly, I didn't want to talk about this at all. I wasn't planning on it. But the more people I see glamorizing awakening, the more I really wanted to talk about what it actually felt like to me. What that actually meant and seemed like to me in my own experience. Like, what was that? What was that all about? So, spiritual awakening sounds like when I first heard about it, right? Because I was hearing all these things on social media and seeing all these posts about it, and some close friends of mine were like spiritual awakening, and I was just like, what does that mean? And when I heard about it, I just thought it sounded like, oh, you were getting all these downloads, you were getting messages from above, and all these spectacular levels of awareness and levels of dreams. And that's just actually not what happened to me at all. I honestly feel like, oh, spiritual awakening or whatever that was for me felt like a psychotic breakdown. I felt like I was losing my damn mind. I didn't know what was going on. I felt like I was feeling all the different energy, and I didn't just feel like it. I actually felt it. I could like feel it like tingling in my fingers and just all around. I could just hold even small things. I can hold this little crystal rock thing, and I can just feel the energy coming from. Oh, even now I can feel that. Ooh, so I can even feel that, and it was just this insanely overstimulating experience. Like, I always felt like I was on edge. I was looking over my shoulders, looking here and looking there, and I just didn't really understand what actually was happening, what was going on. I couldn't actually explain it. I didn't know how to explain it. My husband and my children and my friends and family were like, hey, what's going on with you? You seem a little off. You seem a little out of characteristic, out of the norm. And I didn't really know how to explain what I was actually feeling because it felt so unsettling. It wasn't cute. It wasn't like, oh, yay, this is such a wonderful, glorious experience. It was nothing like that at all. I mean, I could barely sleep. I could barely eat. I could barely focus. Forget sleep. Right? Sleeping was just something that was even hard for me to do then because it was just so overacting and overstimulating. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It didn't feel like something that I would call up my girlfriend and be like, oh, you really want to do this because it's the best thing, it's the best feeling. It was not the best feeling at all. And it was so isolating. I felt so alone. I just couldn't convey how I was feeling. I couldn't articulate it. I couldn't explain it to people. I had no one to actually relate to. And it was just an isolating kind of feeling. So it wasn't like this kumbaya, glorious kind of event. It was nothing like that at all. I couldn't think straight. I couldn't eat. Like, everything felt off. My relationships felt off. My speech felt off. The temperature and the environment, everything around me kind of felt off. So I like, because it was so isolating and I was so alone, I was just like, you know what? Instead of me trying to figure it out, let me try something else. And so I got curious about it. I got curious, like, what is this? What exactly does this mean? And what am I actually feeling? Because without me understanding what I was feeling, then there was no way for me to communicate to others how I felt. Right. So I had to just slow down a little bit. And I think that was just the beginning of my overall journey into meditation because I had no choice but to slow down through this whole spiritual awakening experience that, again, felt like I was just losing my damn mind. Spiritual awakening. So, wait, if I was awakening, what the hell was I doing before? Does that mean I was asleep like right now? Does that mean I am asleep or am I actually awake? So the whole concept and the whole terminology of spiritual awakening was even confusing to me because, again, if that was awakening and if that was the process of being awake, then what did that mean now? Was I not working? Am I not working? Am I not a mom, a wife, a friend, a support system, a volunteer? If I'm not all those things right now, then what the heck am I? What am I? And what exactly does it mean to be awake? So the whole thing is just, I don't know, it still kind of is kind of confusing to me. Like I couldn't name it. And I think that was the thing. I feel like there was like a glitch, right? A glitch in my thought process. And this is from me who overthinks everything, worries about it all, loads of anxiety and stress and overwhelm. And even for me, the overplanner, overachiever, I couldn't figure out what was happening in what was going on. Suddenly, I felt, I don't know, confusion. And my teachers, they always say, oh, confusion is the beginning of a breakthrough. And it felt like a breakthrough for me. It felt like a breakdown, a breakdown. So I don't know. So there's something about this, the whole terminology about awakening, and then what that means. If awakening now, does that mean we were sleeping before, or I was sleeping before, or sleeping now? I don't know. It's just so complicated. I sometimes think all the spiritual terminology is just so complicated, and it's just so easier to just decomplicate it and unpack it by understanding, in my own experience, in my own words, understanding what the hell is going on, what actually is happening, and to not try to conceptualize it and put it in a box, because I don't fit in the box. It's just bottom line. I don't think I've ever fit into a box, but I don't fit into like a square. I just don't. So I'm wondering if it's just the name and the terminology that really threw me off, or it was also just trying to name that experience, which seemed way hard and way complicated to do. That was such a journey. I wasn't looking for enlightenment, right? Or to transcend my problems and situations. I was looking for a damn map. I was looking for a map, a GPS, a compass for someone to tell me and help me navigate all the different emotions I was experiencing, and the different thoughts and the different patterns and the different everything. And I felt like it was just all coming. It was all just arising from that moment. And it never once crossed my mind that stuff has always been here. It has always been here. I just never noticed that it was here, but it was always here. It was always those sounds or those thoughts or those emotions. Even now, as I'm recording this, I'm thinking about pizza and tomato, and what is a tomato, and why is the tomato red, and what is the sky, and why is the sky blue, and is there a sky, or if there's not a sky, then there's the sun, and is there a butterfly? And all these thoughts are just zing 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 zing. And that's just what happens when you go through this whole awakening process. I think when I really start to break it down as to what I experienced this level of awareness to just tap into my own experience, to get real about what I was actually experiencing and how it was actually showing up for me. So I think that's how I would describe it, not like this whole kumbaya experience, because it absolutely was not that. So first, it felt like I was losing it. Don't know what's left, what's right, what's up, what's down, losing my mind. And then I started to wake up to see how asleep I was. And then that's when the loneliness kind of hit. Clarity is lonely. Can we just say that? Can we just say that and just be okay with that being okay? Clarity is lonely. You start seeing things differently, right? And no one seems to notice that you're seeing things differently, but maybe a color may get your attention a different way, or a sound is more loud, is louder, right? It's louder. It's more like boom, boom, boom in your face than everyone else. Your senses become just a little bit more heightened, a little bit more aware. Everything just seems to be moving either really fast or moving way slow. So trying to find a groove and a way in there is a process in and of itself. So I don't think I was better in this awakening. I wasn't better. I was just awake, just a little bit more aware. It's not like, I don't know, this purple cloth. It's not like the purple cloth wasn't a soft purple cloth before, but maybe it's super purpley, right? Or maybe it has a shine, which it does have a shine and a sparkle, and maybe it looks a little pink and there's a texture to it. So there's a lot more noticing, a lot more detail into what is already around. And that could be really activating, right? That could be really activating, really triggering, really kind of lonely, that clarity with that loneliness, because I didn't have anyone to talk to about that. I was just suffering through it alone, trying to figure out what was happening and what was going on. And I don't know, just trying to wrap my head literally around the whole thing. And sometimes when I was reading up on it or trying to find people who I thought could maybe help me to relate to what was going on, then they would say things like, I don't know, breathe through it. That didn't help me. Breathing through it didn't help me. I felt like I was holding my breath all the time. So breathing through what was not helping at all. It just brought even more confusion. Seriously. And people would be like, just let it go, move on. So cool, let it go, fine. But then it would come straight back. There was actually no letting go. How can you let go of life? Right? How can you let go of seeing? How can you let go of hearing? How can you let go of tasting or smelling? How can you let go of something that has already come, that's already here? How can you let that go? So again, it was just more confusing to me than validating or than providing any answers. It didn't provide me anything but more confusion out of the clarity. So it was really, I don't know, really lonely in that world of clarity. So I couldn't let it go. I couldn't let it go by. I couldn't forget. I couldn't breathe through it. I had to really, again, there's the theme again, slow down and be okay with having no answers and be okay with being in this situation where nothing made sense. And I couldn't even make sense of it myself or of myself to people around me who loved and supported me. And once you start seeing clearly, at least once I started seeing clearly, I just felt like I was out of place. And I didn't recognize myself anymore. I just didn't. And who was myself? Who was I? Who was the I that I didn't recognize? Was I the mommy of 5? Was I the wife of 1? Was I the good friend who listens to everyone, or the good coworker, or the good daughter, or I don't know, who was I? And it just, I don't know, there was a whole lot of grief with that. That's the thing that came after clarity for me, was grief. It was grief. It was a bit of, it was sadness. It wasn't confusion. It was sadness. I felt really sad. I just didn't belong. I just didn't fit. Nothing actually just makes sense. It felt like I was being dropped off in another world and no one spoke my language. No one understood what I was saying or how I was saying it or anything like that. Is honestly what I felt. I don't know. It felt like even basic conversations were just unbearable. I can be on the phone for hours just going over stuff and talking and having a good time, but even just shooting the shit, right? Just talking about nonsense just wasn't working for me. I felt like, not that I didn't have time to do it, but it just was not interesting anymore. I always love watching movies and going to the movies, but watching movies and watching TV, it just didn't land like it used to. It was boring, or it was cliche, or was just like, am I really spending my time doing this right now, where there's so much life and living happening around me and within me and just everywhere. So I just didn't feel inspired to watch TV. I love music, and even listening to music just wasn't the same. So there was just so much grief and sadness around all the things that I really love to do and all the things that I found joy in that I was no longer actually enjoying. I was no longer having a great time doing those things. I guess I was no longer asleep, right? I was kind of, I don't know, awakening to what actually was making me happy and what actually I did enjoy doing without drowning myself out or into other situations or other things that were not fully aligned with who I was at those moments. So this happened from a place of truth, not trauma, but of truth, and of a place of discovery, of trying to figure out, in that process of figuring out, who am I? Like the biggest word, who am I? Right? I don't know, but I knew what did not make me happy in those moments. I just didn't know who I was or who I was panning out to be within that all. So I was losing roles. I was losing identities. I was losing some relationships. So some of my relationships, just to be perfectly honest, some of my relationships, my friends, even relationships with some family members, that went away through my spiritual journey and my process of awakening or whatever. I just didn't have time and the energy or the resources within me to deal with certain things, and that included letting go of some friends. That including moving away from some family, right? That included having a different mindset about my day job and my life and things around me. So it had a lot of different impacts on the who, what, when, where, what I am right now in my journey. And that was not easy, right? There was a lot of grief and a lot of sadness around that. There was a lot of letting go. Friends and family who I thought I would be there for a long time, and we were just in it to win it. And that just was not the case at all. So letting go, even though letting go is sometimes a release, it hurt. Letting go hurt. Letting go of my identities hurt. Letting go of my roles hurt. Letting go of my friends and some family and some situation hurt. That was pain. And it is pain. Even still thinking about it, sometimes it's painful because the pain was real and it hurt. So my awakening and my spiritual development there was not just me evolving, it was a process of grieving too. I thought awakening was going to be a moment. Awakening was going to be like, ding, oh, yay, now you're awake, yay, confetti, confetti, confetti. It was not, and it is not like that. There is no ding button or light switch, and all of a sudden you're enlightened. It just doesn't work like that. For me, it was more like, and it is still more like this never ending onion that I am constantly peeling. And the moment I've gotten what I think is a core of the onion, the middle, and I'm like, oh, I'm smooth sailing, then bam, right in my face again. Right in my face again. No, that it's not smooth sailing, and that's not really how life is. And there's always going to be ups and downs and ebbs and flows, and that is the awakening. That is the process. But I didn't realize that, right? It was just like I would just continue to peel. And even right now, I'm continuing to peel and continuing to shed different layers, but a new layer is already there, right? Or shed different identities, but my real identity is already there, right? So it was just this complex, always layered, never boring story of evolution. when I see evolution sometimes, or when I hear the word, I think of the monkey that's from the caveman and eventually grows into a man. Like, that's evolution. My awakening spiritual journey evolution is nothing like that. I feel like it's like this grandiose universe that keeps getting smaller, but the smaller it gets, the bigger it is. The smaller it gets, the more I open up. The smaller it gets, the more I can connect with others. So I don't know, it's a weird analogy how it's all connected and interrelated, but I feel like the more layers that I uncover, unpeel, the more I actually open up. So it's the smaller I am, the smaller I get, the bigger the impact. I don't know. So it's not tragic, right? But it's honest and it's real and it's raw and it's like everything that I would describe the humanness of human behavior. Aliens, if you're out there, whoever, listen to that, right? It's the humanness, that raw emotion and expression and thoughts and feelings and perceptions and mindsets. It's all that humanness all in one. Version from when I started to experience my journey and my path, but it was still me. And I'm still here. And I'm still tired. And sometimes I still hope someone's going to give me the answers. And then, even in the middle of all that, it hit me, maybe this is the awakening. Maybe this is it. Maybe it is the curiosity. It is wanting more from life and staying with your experience just a little bit more through all the pain and throughout the anxiety and throughout all the thoughts and emotions constantly swimming, at least for me, back and forth in my head. Maybe that is the awakening for me. Maybe that is the breakthrough, right? So I came to the conclusion that no one is coming to save me. No one is coming on some kind of grandiose horse or to send me a message to say you have arrived. Like, that's not going to happen. There's no affirmation that's going to save me. There's no formal meditation practice that all of a sudden I'm going to do and then it's like, aha, you understand life. That's not going to happen. I'm still going to have to listen to myself. I'm still going to have to tap into my experience. I still need to notice what's happening in my life, in my experience, in my present, and still choose and respond instead of react to a situation. I'm still going to have to live in this beautiful world and globe that we are a part in, that is a part of us. I still have to do that. I still have to understand what presence actually means to me. Does presence mean that I'm actually actively listening to my husband or actively listening to my children or not trying to sway someone's decision or opinion, but really opening up to see a broader perspective on just life in general? I am still on the journey to understand what presence in spiritual practice looks like for me so that I can find calm and I can go with the waves and the oceans despite the storm, and I can finally be okay with being with whatever that means for me and for that version of me, for not just myself but for others, so I can fully show up for me, and through showing up for me I can fully show up and be there for others. So I guess the bottom line is, even through a spiritual journey and spiritual awakening, there is nothing coming to save you. And the only person who can make the changes in your life, true changes that are lasting changes, is you. So if you're in it right now and you feel like you're alone, you're not. You're not alone, and there will be times where you may experience discomfort. Hey, I feel discomfort still too. Don't think of it as a destination. Just think of the journey as a journey of evolution, as a journey of getting to know yourself and really understanding who you are without all the programming and the stories and the thoughts and the conditionings that each of us have had to experience in our own lives. But who are you? And to really enjoy the journey of finding that out for yourself without thinking that someone's coming to save you. Because no one is coming to save you except you.
So I wish you well on your journey and in all things that you do for the benefit of yourself and of all beings.